Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the MakeCode Arcade Advanced stream. I'm Richard. Richard on the MakeCode forum.
I'm Joey, J1 on the MakeCode forum.
And today we are continuing to work on our Hollow Knight game. So, what we have done so far, we have enemies, which we'll see if we head on over to that map. There we go. We got enemies. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So there's something we got to take a look at real quick, which is the wall isn't getting disappeared, but we'll figure that in just a second. We've got enemies. We can slash our sword in all sorts of directions. We even have save state. So if I kill this wall over here, break. Oh, okay. Stack overflowed. I think that was because of our... that was because we had the wall spawning multiple times because we weren't cleaning it up. We'll try this one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and reset our settings. And now I can go ahead and kill this wall. And if I refresh the game, you see it stays dead. So, okay. But we had a little bug there, which is we didn't destroy the wall when we loaded the next map. So we need to go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to head on over to our on-top map loaded and get rid of that. But the main thing we're going to be working on today is spikes. So, been putting off spikes until now, which is weird because you've probably seen us implement spikes a million times. Heck, you've probably done it yourself. Like half the tutorials have spikes. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit trickier in Hollow Knight for a few reasons. But first off, let's go ahead and destroy those wall sprites. There we go.
Hey, Woof Woof.
Hi, Woof Woof. Hey, so Joey, do you know why they're trickier?
I'm trying to remember. Is it because you only take damage when falling into them, and so you can like walk on them, but you can't? No, is that different?
Nope. So the way spikes work in Hollow Knight is, let's just write it out. When you hit spikes, you respawn in your last non-spike location. All right. So say I had some spikes right here. If I were to jump into them from where I currently am, the screen fades out and I am placed back at the last position I was in that did not have spikes. Mm-hmm. So that's important. Another thing with spikes is that you can pogo off of them. Not all of them, but most of them. So let's go ahead and do that. Spikes can be pogoed. All right. We're not done yet. Spikes can be in all four directions. So that means doing them on the ceiling, the walls, and the floor. And then finally, spikes kill enemies. So if an enemy happens to touch some spikes, they die. Which is nice, because sometimes you'll have like a really big enemy and you'll have like just enough knockback to like knock them into some spikes. So that you're like, yes, I don't have to kill them. So that's the idea. That's what we're going to be doing today. And to start off, we need to go into our tile map and actually put in some spikes for us to test with. So head on into our oh, right, I put it in its own function. There should be initialize overworld right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and edit this. I'm going to turn this big wall that we have into this smaller wall. And we made a tile for spikes in one direction, which is this one right here. So we're going to go ahead and, well, I guess there's two ways we can do this. We can automatically make them like grip whatever side they're touching, or we can just have multiple tiles. And I think I'm feeling just multiple tiles, frankly. So, okay. So let's go ahead and just rotate this tile a few times. And one, whoops, didn't mean to do a new tab, meant to duplicate. Yes, yes, yes. Duplicate, edit, rotate, done. Okay. So let's edit our map to be a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to go ahead and put our spawn location like right here. And we'll spawn up on a platform. And we're going to put some spikes around that we can run into. So let's move this wall over here, put some spikes on the side here so we can hit those. We're also going to put some on the ceiling that we can jump into. We have variable height jumping, so we can, you know, avoid these. We're going to put some on the ground that we can hit. And then lastly, we need a few that are on another wall. So this is probably too big a gap for me to actually make. We are going to put our last ones on another overhang wall like this. All right. Done. Let's go ahead and try this out. So, okay, no, I cannot make that jump. No way. I have to jump to full height to make that jump.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how... I don't know. Just to be safe, I'm just going to delete this last one. But one thing we're going to be doing here is whenever I do spikes, whoops, I want to be extremely generous to the player. So I try to make the hitbox be as pixel accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or maybe even give a little bit of leeway. And I guess question right now, do we want to do these big spikes that we currently have, or do we want to make them like a little bit, we could make them smaller. Like, could edit this tile. Kind of annoying that I'm doing this after copying those all around, but do something like this instead. So we have the spikes, but they're a little bit smaller. Wolf says, was looking at the MakeCode docs, and the only feature I didn't know about was labeled loops. So now I'm using those. Oh, don't use those. Oh, no.
Yeah, don't.
You're fine to use those if you want, but that's like a JavaScript feature nobody ever uses.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I see it, which I do sometimes in our own code base, I'm like, oh no. I think there's only like one or two parts in our code base that actually uses those.
Mm-hmm. Is it somewhere in the compiler or something? I can't think of a place that I've seen it.
I think it is, yeah.
Makes sense. Very rarely does it feel worth the headache of having to remember how they work. Well, you don't have to remember how they work very much, but like knowing that they exist in JavaScript.
All right. Okay, smaller spikes. Wolf says LMAO, it's supported, so I'm using it. Are there any loop naming conventions?
Don't use them is the
convention.
Like it's seriously just like there's a lot of things that are supported in JavaScript, but it's a bad feature, right? And that's kind of nearly on the bad feature level.
Yeah.
Right? Like go-to in general is just kind of on the bad feature level for the most part. Like people like it for some reason, but
yeah, but we support things because of the we support like the JavaScript spec. You know, it's not because we like it as a feature.
Well, it's better than using a variable a single time just for that. It's really not.
But
like do it if you want to. Just
yeah.
You're not gonna get help. Yeah.
We're just gonna discourage you at every turn. Okay. So let's do our overlaps for this guy. We want to, like I said, we want to be like as generous as possible. So we're going to go ahead and go into our scene category, grab some tile overlaps. Go, and we're going to start with this guy. So our spikes are only taking up the bottom 4 pixels. So when we do this overlap, we're going to go ahead and check to make sure that our bottom of our sprite is overlapping those bottom 4 pixels. That's going to be what our like hitbox is. So we're going to go ahead and put in an if here. We're going to grab a sprite property, grab the bottom, make this local sprite, not my sprite. And we are going to, let's see, grab a comparison and a minus. Okay, so we're going to see if sprite bottom is less than, we're going to grab the bottom of this tile. So we can get that from the scene category and the property block for locations. So right here. And we want to grab this local location and make this bottom. And we want to do bottom -4. So if our bottom is greater than bottom -4, this is where we should actually trigger this. So we're just going to go ahead and destroy the player. This will make our game unplayable, but at least we'll be able to see it happen. So, boop, there we go. Boop. Boop. Yeah, if you look closely, you can tell that we are not quite hitting the bottom, but we are definitely overlapping with the tile before this happens. So Wolflip says, I just want to break out of 2 loops at the same time, and the other ways of doing that don't seem to be supported. Yeah, I just use a variable for that.
Yeah. Like if you ever want help on something, nobody's going to understand what your code until you.
That's the thing. It's just them, right? it's such a seldomly used feature that nobody knows how it works, right? Unless you're people who have had to interact with a lot of JavaScript, like Joey and I have.
Yeah, and like even if you're doing it for this, if you're trying to think of this as like a perf thing, this is not a perf thing to have a variable for this. Like this is very like fundamentally, it's exactly the same. So just use a variable and you're good. Everybody will understand that. You won't have to have a headache when you read your code in 3 months and you yourself have forgotten how it works.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and put a function. We're going to call it doSpike respawn. And we're going to go ahead and just call this function. doSpike respawn. There we go. And let's do this for the other 4 directions. So for the up one, we're going to be comparing, we're going to say, is the top less than location top +4? There we go. Now for the left one, we're going to say, is the left less than left +4? And then finally, for the right one, we are going to say, is the right greater than right -4? And those are our spike respawns. All right. So now in here, we can do our actual business of respawning. But first, we need to know where to respawn to. So this is kind of the tricky bit. So we're not going to implement this exactly how Hollow Knight implements it, because I'm pretty sure Hollow Knight has some weird logic. When you hit spikes, I think most of the time you end up back where the last place you were on solid ground was. But I've been paying attention to this as I've been playing the game. Sometimes when you hit spikes, it just puts you on a platform near where you hit the spikes, as opposed to where you were last on the ground. And I don't know how it chooses. You know? So rather than try to parcel out how that logic works, we're just going to do the one that I think is safer, and that is generally what you want in most situations, which is if you hit spikes, we're going to keep track of the last tile you were on, which was not a spike tile, and we're going to put you back up there. That's the idea. One other thing I don't know about in Hollow Knight is I don't know if I feel like intuitively I believe that the room does not get respawned, but it might. I don't actually know. But like if you have enemies and stuff in the room, should they be respawned? I think probably not.
Yeah, if it were to respawn in that case, then couldn't you have teleported back into a? I guess you just start with iframe or something, but teleported into an enemy.
Yes, you absolutely could. So that's a problem, but I don't know. I still think this is the strategy we're going to go with. And if you get hurt twice, sorry. Okay. So we need to keep track of where the last solid ground we was. So we are going to do this inside of an on-game update. Wolfhoof says, no, they don't. You were right, Richard. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. So inside of on-game updates, we are going to basically be keeping track of if we are on the ground. And if we are on the ground, then we are going to record the position that we are on the ground in. We're going to check the tile that we were on the ground in and the tile that we're overlapping with. And if they are both good, they're like, this is not a spike tile and this is a, a ground tile, then we're going to basically save that in a variable that we're going to call last safe position. All right. So let's go ahead and put that logic in right here. We're going to go into our platformer and we're going to grab has state and we're going to do on ground right there. Just go ahead and put an if. And my sprite is our player. So that's where we want to store it. So if we are on the ground, then we are going to see what is the tile directly below our player. So we're going to grab tile location. I want tile map location of my sprite. There we go. And then I want tile map location below. So I want that in direction block right here. So we're going to do tile map location bottom of the tile map location of my sprite. Now, this is a little bit tricky because let's say I am like this. The way that the tile map location block works is it gets the location at the center of your sprite. So in this case, my center is actually in this, open air tile that my cursor is currently on. And so if I were to get the location below this, this would give me a empty tile, which is not actually a safe position. So if I hit the spikes, I'll respawn up in the air and then just, fall down to the spikes again. So that's no good. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, test all three possible things that we could be overlapping with. We need to test the center, we need to test the left, and we need to test the right. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can do this in a function, I guess, just to make the logic clear and not have it gumming up this on-game update. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to do get ground tile, and this is going to take in a sprite. All right. So what we're going to do here is we are going to start with the tile in the center of our sprite. So that's going to be this one right here. We're going to put in an if. We're going to check if this is a wall. Where's is wall? Yeah, right here. All right. So if that is a wall, then we're good. We can just go ahead and return this location. So return. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now we need to test to the left. So we can't use tile map location for this, and we can't use tile map location left of, because it's possible that our sprite, oh yeah, this isn't gonna run, but our sprite, if we're overhanging on the right like we were before, the one to the left of us is actually going to be, the one to the right of us in that situation is actually going to be the same as the one in our center. So because these could be the same, we need to actually calculate this using our integer divide box. So we're going to go into here. We're going to go to square root and change this into integer divide. And we're going to go into scene and grab the tile map column row. And we're going to need a sprite property block. So let's put that in right here. So our column, we want to test our left here. We're going to take our sprite, grab the left, and we need to integer divide by our tile size, which is 8. So this will give us the column that the left side of our sprite is in. For the row, we're going to be doing the same thing, but we're going to grab the, I guess we can just grab the center. So we'll do sprite y integer divided by 8. So this is going to give us the tile that our one on the left side is. And we're just going to stick this in here. So if this is a wall, then we're going to go ahead and return this location. And then finally, we are going to return, in the other case, we are going to be returning the right one. And because if we got into this function, we know that we are on a tile, right? We can conclude that if it's not the center one and it's not the left one, it has to be the right one. So we don't need to bother checking. All right, why is this angry? Yes, they do. They just need to. There we go. Okay, just took it a second. All right. So if our sprite is on the ground, then we are going to set last safe position to be our the result of this function. All right, so there's one kind of problem with this. So the last safe position, the get ground tile thing, Wolfman says you should turn on the experimental errors list for blocks. Actually, I think in the next release, that's going to be turned on by default. So look forward to that. So there's one kind of error with this that I don't know if it can happen, but it might be able to, which is, what if we are falling down here and we are falling at such a speed that we hit the ground on the same frame that we overlap with the bottom of the tile, right? So in that case, we will be hitting a wall, but this is a spike tile and we do not want to respawn on a spike tile. So what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of immediately setting our last safe position, we're going to go ahead and set temp location to be this ground tile. And we're going to go ahead and check the tile above it to make sure that it is not spikes or anything else that could potentially be harmful. And as the game goes on, as we add more things, it's possible that we are going to be adding more checks to this. Other situations where, you know, we could be in trouble. So one example could be like, imagine we had bullet bills that were shooting right here, right? Then we do not want our spawn location to be spawning us in the path of bullet bills. So we might want to, you know, put in something that's going to like check for that specific scenario. But for now, we are just going to check, is it a spike tile? And for that, I'm going to go ahead and make a function for this. I don't know if we're going to use this anywhere else, but we might. And in here, we're just going to return, and we're going to check all 4 of our spike tiles. So go into scene, grab tile image tile image is right here. Put our location in there. And we're going to grab inside of logic, we're going to grab an OR, stick that in there, duplicate, grab another OR, and there we go. And we're going to check all 4. Up, right, down, left. And there we go. So now we can just go ahead and say, if not is spike tile, and we want to check the location above our ground tile. Then we can finally set our last safe position to be temp location. All right. With that, let's head on over to our respawn, do spike respawn. And in here, we are going to destroy our sprite and create a new one. So let's actually make a function called create player, because right now that's just all inside of OnStart. All right, we're going to grab all this junk and pull out this part. And we're going to go ahead and return. Or no, we don't even need to return. We can just, we're assigning my sprite in there and, you know, just do that. So put this up here, do create player, and our game should be back like it was. Cool. Now in respawn, we're going to go ahead and destroy our player. So go into sprites, do destroy, and we're going to respawn our player. And then we need to place our player in our last safe position. So we're going to go ahead and do set position to, or place on top of. We're going to place my sprite on top of. We're storing the wall position as our last safe position, so we're actually going to do the location above our last safe position. Right there, top, and make this our last safe position. Okay, so now I can jump up and hit these spikes, and there we go. I just respawned to where I was. Okay. And now I can fall down here, and I respawn up here, fall over here, and I respawn over here. So seems like it's working. All right. So we probably want to play like a death animation or something, you know? So in Hollow Knight, like, you get this little animation where like your character is like hurt and kind of bounces off the spikes. And then the screen actually fades to black and then fades back in real quick and like respawns you where you were. Woof Woof says, I've decided my loop labeling convention will be O for outside and M for middle if I ever need that.
Okay. I won't be reading your program if you ask for help. Just to be clear, like I'm just gonna say that ahead of time. Like
Joey's being way harsher than I am. All right. Cool. Okay. So this is part 1 of Spikes, which is respawning. Let's just go ahead and do the animation, I guess. We actually have just been kind of like not doing that many animations up till now. So we're going to head on over to assets. We're going to copy our little guy. And we're going to do a new image, paste this guy in here. And let's just rotate him. There we go.
Oh.
And yep, that's going to be our death animation. We're going to go ahead and trim this because we're not going to be using our real sprite for this. We're going to create a fake sprite that's going to be in the same position. So make the height of this 4, make the width be, I don't know, is that 8, 7? Go, and we're going to make this death, and this is facing, let's see, so this is if we were facing to the left, then we like rotated, you know? So we'll do death left there, and we're going to duplicate this guy and flip him, and this will be death right. Cool. All right. So we're going to go over to back to blocks. And over here, we're going to destroy our player. And then before we create the player, so we're actually going to do this later, we'll go ahead and grab inside of functions, not functions, and in extensions, we're going to add the timers extension. Because the timers extension has the nifty feature where we can, you know, do something after some amount of time has elapsed. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do an after whatever. Actually, you know what? We'll just use a separately do because we're going to want to do this animation. So we'll probably just pause. So grab a pause. Okay. And then the other thing we're going to grab is the color fading extension. Joey's pride and joy.
Are we gonna fade to black?
Yeah. Wolfo says, I will not need help. Yeah, we're just giving you a hard time. This is actually that puzzle game I asked the mods about forever ago. I have a lot of loops inside of a lot of loops for checking for how many boxes are on how many buttons. I'm considering reading the raw tile map data so that I can do all 4 button types in one big loop instead of 4 let tile of tiles.get tiles by type loops. Oh, yeah, sure. But yeah, no, we're just giving you, we're just teasing you. Woof woof. So in here, we want to do our fade in, fade out. So go into color. We're going to grab fade from original to black. And then we are going to fade from black to original. And does this pause, Joey?
No, I think it just runs it.
We'll find out. Yeah, so no, it does not pause. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do our pauses in here. And I know 500 milliseconds is pretty slow. Let's do 200 milliseconds. It's pretty quick in Hollow Knight. Okay. And we're actually going to do the fade from black after we have recreated the player and put them in the right place. So we fade to black, and then we put the player in the right place. That's how it's
Did you want that one 200 milliseconds?
Oh, yeah, probably. So now I hit this thing and I get whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I know it's October, but this is kind of too scary for Halloween, Richard.
Yeah, this is fun. What's going on here? Okay, so does this happen if I... Yeah, okay, so that was... Okay. Seems like I don't know what's going on here. All right. Oh, I know what's going on, actually. We're hitting multiple spikes.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're in between the two spike tiles, we'll actually get 2 spike overlap events. And so this will all get triggered twice and just turn into a big old mess.
Makes sense.
So inside of sprite utils, we can just say is destroyed and do a check right here. Say, if not, my sprite is destroyed, then do all of this junk. And I'm hoping that will fix it.
Just got to MakeCode update, 2 updates in one day. Yeah, that's the one for Richard's variables and sprite kinds fix.
Well, right. I meant to announce that at the beginning of stream. The sprite kinds and variable fix is in. So, okay, we have a problem with our last safe position logic.
Oh, I mean, that's not ideal. I mean, yeah, you can jump out of the air. That's good.
Yeah, well, we have multi jumps turned on right now, so you can do some in air jumps. Okay, all right. So that's not great. So we need to figure out what we did wrong there. Actually, I'm kind of confused as to what we could have done wrong there, but. Wolfo says, "Hello. Considering what you said last stream, it's more like a very large band-aid." No, actually, I fixed it.
Like the cause, or actually, no, you did find the exact cause. That was
I did find the exact cause.
Yeah.
I figured out the exact problem and I fixed the bug. So,
like, there's a band-aid so that other things that occurred that had similar effects would be fixed in the future, but there's also just like the root cause was fixed.
Yes. So fun. If you want to know how to repro the bug, you had to open more than 20 categories in the toolbox in one session.
Mm-hmm.
So you can repro it on the old versions of Arcade by just opening up a big project and then just clicking through all of the categories one by one until you get to 21. And the reason it happened was because we have some logic for caching flyouts, because some of the flyouts take a long time to load. Flyout, by the way, is the terminology for what opens up when you open up a toolbox category. This is the flyout. Mm-hmm. After 20, we started evicting them from the cache, and there was some change in the library we were doing where when we evicted them, they got disposed, and it was disposing all of the variables and sprite kinds. Mm-hmm. So that's what it was. And I figured it out because I watched the video that this happened to us on Wednesday over and over again. And I was like, I just can't tell what's happening. Like, I do the same thing and nothing happens. But I do see that I was clicking on the flyout and like I had something weird happen with the flyout where like I had to click on it twice for opening at that time. And I was like, what could have caused it to close? All right, we close it when an edit is made. So it must have been the flyout must have triggered it. And yep, so finally, I put it all together, figured it out, and the bug is actually good and fixed. So, Wolfo says, "Oh boy, that's why it took so long to find the bug, and why people with more extensions got it more often." Yep, that's exactly right. Okay. So let's go ahead and figure out what we're doing here with our last safe position and why that's not working right. Because we were getting into a weird case where I don't even know how to force it to happen. But we were getting into a weird case where we were respawning up in the air, and that's no good. Oh my gosh, now I can't even make it happen.
If you like very, very slowly walk off, does it happen? No.
Well, we can just do a sanity check in this assign thing, which will, I don't know exactly why this is happening, but I'm guessing it's something to do with the is on ground check not being completely correct right here. So what we're going to do is we can just go ahead and check that it is a wall before we call this. So scene is wall. And I'll put this on the list of things for me to investigate with the platformer extension. There you go. So this should be pretty foolproof, right? If the temp location is a wall and it is not a spike tile above the time application, I can't see this going wrong. So the only thing that could go wrong is I guess it could put us in a wall somehow. So I guess the final thing we could check here is that the one above is not a wall. So let's do that too.
21 different tabs. 20 different ones is the max you could store because
so you had to open 20
extensions.
Yeah, you had to have extensions installed in your project, and you had to open 20. One, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And we want to do a check and say not. There we go. All right. Okay. All right, so let's do our little death animation. So we're going to head on over to our do spike respawn, and we're going to, after we destroy the sprite, we're going to go ahead and create a fake sprite. So let's put it right here, and we're going to call this death sprite. That sounds ominous. And we're going to set its image based on which direction our player is facing. So if our player is facing right, we want to do the one where the head is to the left, because the idea is that we kind of like tilt it backwards like this. So we're going to go into platformer, go ahead and check this has state. And we are going to say, if we have the state facing left, then we are going to grab this one. Wait, okay, we're facing left. Yes, we want this one. And then otherwise, we are going to set this to be the other one. So this one right here. And change this to temp sprite. Okay. We're going to go ahead and set this guy to be a ghost. We don't actually want this to interact with anything. And now the reason I gave this a unique kind is because we want to destroy this sprite inside of the separately do after the fade occurs. But because temp sprite is used in a lot of places in our code base, we can't rely on this not being reassigned before this separately do runs. But what we can do is we can just go into sprites and say destroy all of kind. Where is that? Oh yeah, it's near the top. Effects, destroy all of kind. And so after we do this fade from black, we're just going to destroy all sprites of kind death sprite when we recreate our player. And we want to give this guy a little bit of physics. So we're going to go ahead and set its gravity. There it is. To be whatever the gravity of our player is. Yep, actually I want it to be my sprite. And then we want to make it kind of like bounce up a little bit. So we're going to set our Vy to be, we're going to use the formula for jumping at a specific height, which is going to be the negative square root of gravity times 2 times the height we want to jump at. So that's our gravity. We're going to multiply that times 2, and then multiply that times the jump height. Don't ask me why this formula works. I'm sure I could figure it out if I worked on some paper for a while, but I don't want to do that. So we're going to jump up 8 tiles. And sorry, not 8 tiles, 8 pixels. All right, so now if we do this, we should bounce. There we go. We're not actually setting it in the right position, but it is bouncing up, which is good. Okay, so let's set it to the right position now. We're going to go ahead and set its x to be the same as our mySpriteX. And do the same for y. All right. Dead. Okay, it looks a little silly when we die in anything that isn't hitting the ground. Right? Maybe we should also jump less. We'll make it 4 pixels. Okay. So when we do this spike respawn, let's go ahead and edit the function. We're going to add a number, which is going to be direction. And we're going to go to our spike things right here, and we're going to do the classic Richard direction thing. So 0 is up, 1 is to the right, 2 is to the bottom, and 3 is to the left. And we're going to be doing this based off of the direction that the spike is clinging to, I think. So the up one is going to be this one. So that's going to be 0. Then this one is right, so that's 1. This one is bottom, so that's 2. And this one is left, which is 3. All right. Head back over to reduce spike respawn. And what we're going to do now is we are going to check that direction when we're setting our velocity. So we're always going to set the gravity. That's all good. But whoa. Okay, go back in there. We are only going to bounce up if we are hitting the ground. And actually, I'm going to make this even less too, because like we're not. It's the fade out happens so fast. We're not actually seeing ourselves bounce. Grab an equals direction, and we want to say if direction equals 0, that means we hit the ceiling. We're just not going to set any velocity. Just going to fall down. If direction equals to the on the right side, then we're going to set our Vx to be, I don't know, -10. If we hit the bottom side, so 2 right here, that's where we're going to do this little bit of jumping. Stick that right there. And then otherwise, we're going to set our Vx to be +10. All right, let's see what this looks like. So bounce, 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 bounce. Okay, 10's a little low. Let's make it more like 20. See how that does. Yeah, that looks about right. Cool. Wolfoof says, you should make a forum announcement. I saw that you went and replied to people having the issue, but IDK, this is a bigger announcement. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I replied to everyone who had the issue, who mentioned the issue, and I think it probably affects power users, but I think it affects fewer people than we. Like the forum is a very biased sample size, you know, but okay. So anyway, that's our spike respawning. So nice. All right, the last thing we kind of have to do is, well, we have two things left to do. We have to do spikes can be pogoed, and we do spikes kill enemies. So let's go ahead and do the pogoing first. We're going to go to our overlaps. Let's copy the one that's going to be the ground. We don't actually care about the other ones because we're not going to do like kickback on the other ones. We're just going to be doing the pogo for the ones that are on the ground. There we go. And we're going to change this kind to be sword. Sword. All right. And we're going to leave this check exactly as it is, right? So we want to be checking to make sure that we are actually hitting this tile in the location. But we're not going to do spike respawn, obviously. And now, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to pogo. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky. So we'll handle that in a second. But first, I think we have like a variable, which is like pogo height or something. Pogo jump height. Yeah, cool. So we're going to go into sprite utils, not sprite utils. We want to go to platformer and grab the jump block. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and use that pogo jump height. All right. And let's see how this goes. Whoops. There you go. That feels a little high, I have to say. Also, I'm definitely jumping when I'm like not even hitting it.
Yeah. Is it like, nah, I can't tell quite, but it wasn't even scraping the top of the tile, was it?
I think it was scraping the top of the tile, yeah.
Gotcha.
Let's go ahead and make our sword sprite visible so we can tell exactly what's going on. We're going to go ahead and set our sword hitbox invisible off. So there we go. Okay, I guess it is. Oh, I guess maybe the thing that's happening is that it's just always pogoing even if I'm not slashing.
Oh.
For some reason, I thought we made it like ghost. Oh, you know what? We probably do make it ghost, but we make it ghost through sprites, not ghost through tiles.
This is really funny looking, though. I gotta say, I like this.
Yeah. So, but it actually looks like the overlap, like the hitbox, is correct, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's right when it touches the spike that is bouncing up. So yeah. That seems right. I think what was confusing me was just that I was bouncing even when I wasn't slashing. So I think inside of on-game update, we set ghost through sprites right here. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for ghost through tiles. All right. And now, there we go. No more bouncing forever. You actually have to be kind of careful with it. Jump up. Okay, so let's turn our hitbox invisible again. All right. Okay, so yeah, I think this is more or less working. It might feel a little too good right now, I have to say. Like a little too, not feel too good. It feels a little too friendly. Like I feel like I'm jumping even if I'm like late, basically, on doing it. But maybe that's okay. You know, maybe that's fine.
Even if you're late. Oh, like you feel like you should have hit it? Like
I feel like I shouldn't have hit it, but...
Ah.
All All right, one other thing that's happening is we are slashing even if I die. So watch me die, and then you can see me slash while I'm dead. So obviously we don't want that. So when we die, we want to cancel our sword animation, and we want to set our hitbox to be invisible. Geometry says, hey, does the DJ extension support more than 30 cycles per second when the BPM makes 30 seconds smaller than a frame at 30 frames per second? I don't know. I think it should. I think it should work just fine. Yeah, I think that should work just fine. Obviously only in the simulator, but the DJ extension is simulator only anyway. So, okay, let's go to where we're doing this sword animation. So we have a sword sprite. Wait, no, this is where we hit the wall. I guess this will be inside of our on B button pressed. Yeah, so we have a sword sprite that we're like animating. Okay, I think what we need to do is we need to do a function that's going to be like on player death, because we are certainly going to. Or you know what? Actually, there's not too many other places we need to respawn. So actually, I think do spike respawn is probably the right place to do it. Because otherwise, we're just going to die, and at that point, it doesn't really matter what happens. You know, we're just going to like go to a game over screen or whatever. So,
right.
I think like this is the only place we really have to care about this. So we're going to go into animation, and we're going to say stop all animations on and make this our sword sprite like that. And we are going to go to our logic over here inside of the on-game update. And we're going to set this. Oh, we're also good. I guess we can just set our /n time to be 0. So just 0 it out. Go. Was there another end? Do we have another timer in here? We have /cooldown end time. So, you know, we'll clear that out too. You can slash right after you die. Cool. Okay. So let's go ahead and try and do a / right as I die. And yep, the sword disappears now, which is good. That's what we want. Cool. Takes care of that. I wonder if we still have a similar issue. Like if I slash while I'm switching rooms. Oh, it's not letting me switch rooms. Oh, right. We need to, it's because I died. Inside of on start, we have this set player sprite, my sprite right here, and we also have this camera follow sprite. We need to take both of those and put those inside of the create player function. Create player, put this right here, make sure that we get that. Geometry G says, also, at what FPS does input down and input up register? I need that for tap and end hold notes in the rhythm game, and a desync between the DJ extension and that input can make note timing windows weird. So that's kind of interesting. So the controller input events are actually not tied to the frame. They will trigger immediately when they happen. Mm-hmm. So you cannot be guaranteed that they happen at the same time in the game loop every single time they trigger. They should fire as like an interrupt, and they should run as soon as it is possible for them to run. So if there is a something that's like hogging up the current fiber or whatever, they won't run. But otherwise, they will immediately run. So that's the thing. Now, if you wanted to, let's see. I need that for tap and end hold notes in the rhythm game, and a desync between the DJ extension and that input can make note timing windows weird. Yeah, so I don't think you'll have a problem with that, because that state should be being updated immediately. The only thing that might be weird is, let's see, do we do anything at the, I know there's like a controller related thing at the beginning of the game loop but that is just move sprite, right? Like, is there anything?
I believe
else
that
that we
was
do?
basically just moves, right?
Yeah, let's look at the code. Why not?
And when we say like the next opportunity, Richard implied that, basically said it, but it's like the next time a pause happens or a fiber yields, right? So the next time the game loop finishes, you won't interrupt it in the middle of it, like another event happening or something like that.
Yep. All right. So inside here, we're going to go to game, and then we're going to go to scene.ts. Or is it scenes.ts?
I think scene is the one that handles the thing, and scenes has all the APIs.
Okay, so in here, we do controller.update. All right, so we're going to go over to controller.ts.
Oh, maybe it does the repeat events in here.
You're right. That might be it. But let's go ahead and just look.
We'll see in just a second.
Yeah, so we want to look for __update. Go this for, okay, so this is calling update on each of the buttons. So let's go to controller button.ts. It's making it sound like you are correct. That's just going to be the repeat. Okay, so we keep track of, so it's just a repeat stuff. So looks like repeat events are tied to the frame rate, but everything else is not. So the pressed and released are not. Yep. So that should all be good. All right. And I think that's all we got for today. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to be back on Monday, just like usual. Remember, there's a game jam going on right now. So if you want to make a heist-inspired game, please do. We're going to be choosing winners for that. And the winners get to be on the MakeCode home screen, which is pretty cool, until the next game jam. So you have probably seen the game jam games, but they are all down here, right here from our last jam, which was Cozy Jam. And now we're going to have a bunch of heist ones. So try to get your game up here. So the way the judging works, by the way, there were some questions about judging, so I'll just talk about it right now. Is the judging is done by the MakeCode team. It's not done by forum users. But we choose a first place, second place, third place, and then we will choose a host of honorable mentions. Everybody who is honorable mention and up will make it onto the home screen. Everyone who is an honorable mention will get a Game Jam honoree badge on the forum, if I can figure out what your forum account is. And then the people who get first, second, and third will get Game Jam winner badges. So you can show off to everybody that you have won a Game Jam. You are one of the chosen few. And just like always with our mini game jams and our game jams, we are going to be playing all of those games on stream. We'll have an announcement stream where we'll reveal all of the results. And, we usually get like a lot more members of the team on when we're doing that. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'm Richard at Richard on the MakeCode forum.
I'm Jay at J1 on the MakeCode forum.
And we'll see you all Monday. Bye.
Bye.